Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take listener source material, your notes, your ideas, and really dig in.
Yeah, find those critical nuggets of knowledge, kind of cut through the noise for you.
Exactly. And today, we're getting our hands dirty, you could say. We're looking at a problem that, well, it probably bugs almost every home gardener out there. You know the feeling, right?
Yeah.
You get a packet of seeds, you follow the instructions perfectly, you prep the soil like it's surgery, and then nothing. Just disappointment.
It's so common.
And you immediately think, okay, I messed up. Was it the watering, the soil mix? It always feels like it's on you.
It really does. And most gardening advice reinforces that, focusing so much on how you plant. But this source materials you send over, it's called Notes on Gardening, Part 680.
Yeah.
It offers a pretty different perspective.
Different how?
It suggests maybe the problem isn't your green thumb or lack thereof. Maybe it's just the age of the seeds you bought.
Okay, that's a big shift. Because this gardener, according to the notes, spent years trying to perfect their technique, thinking that was the issue.
Exactly. But now they're questioning the seeds themselves. So our mission today is to unpack this gardener's realization.
Which is that the frustratingly low germination rates so many of us see might not be our fault after all.
Right. It might actually be down to the viability of commercial seeds, something they figured out through some pretty interesting, almost accidental experiments.
Okay, let's get into that accidental journey. That sounds like where the real light bulb moment happened.
It does.
So the gardener was doing something pretty standard, just harvesting seeds at the end of the season, trying to save some for next year. Nothing too scientific yet.
No, not at all. And that's kind of the beauty of it. They ended up with 2 different batches stored in completely different ways, almost by chance.
How so?
Well, some seeds got the careful treatment sealed up properly in dry containers, the way you're supposed to do it.
Right, the textbook method.
But then there were others.
Yeah.
Maybe ones they just hadn't gotten around to dealing with yet.
The procrastination pile. We all have one.
Pretty much. These were just left out on the balcony to dry, exposed to whatever the weather was doing. Humidity, temperature swings, neglect, basically.
So you've got the carefully stored seeds and the, oops, forgot about those seeds on the balcony. Both freshly harvested, though. That's key.
That is absolutely key. Freshness is the common factor. The storage was the variable.
And the test itself wasn't really planned either, was it? It sounds like they were just tidying up.
Exactly. They needed to get rid of those balcony seeds and just decided to scatter them. The notes say, without much planning or forethought.
So no careful rows, no specific depth, no special seed starting mix, just checked them on the ground.
Pretty much. Maybe scratch some soil over them, maybe not. The point is, it was the opposite of refined technique.
And what happened?
A few days later, seedlings, they actually sprouted.
Wow. Okay.
Think about that. Standard advice is all about controlled depth, temperature, sterile medium sometimes. These seeds grew despite ignoring all of that.
So wait a minute. Are we saying all that time spent learning about soil pH and drainage? It doesn't matter as much as just having a fresh seed. That feels wrong somehow.
I know, it sounds like gardening heresy. But the source isn't saying technique is pointless. It's saying technique might be secondary.
Secondary to what?
To the seed's basic ability to grow in the first place, its viability. If the seed is fresh and bursting with potential, nature is surprisingly forgiving. That's what the balcony experiment showed.
Okay. So that accidental success made the gardener rethink everything, all those past failures with store-bought seeds?
Precisely. They connected the dots, the low germination they'd seen for years, even with seeds from, and they mentioned this, established vendors.
Yes, the big names you trust.
Right. They started thinking maybe it wasn't their watering schedule or soil mix. Maybe it was just old seeds. Long shelf life killing the viability.
Let's talk about viability then. For our listeners, what does that actually mean in simple terms?
Think of it like a battery pack inside the seed. It's got stored energy, the genetic instructions, everything it needs to kickstart growth, to sprout.
And age, what does that do to the battery?
It drains it. Plain and simple. Even if you store them perfectly, that energy fades over time.
How much time are we talking?
For a lot of common plants, vegetables, flowers, that peak viability, that full charge, is really only good for about 1 year. After that, it doesn't just dip a little. It can often plummet quite dramatically.
1 year? That's not very long. Especially when you think about how long seeds might sit around before you even buy them.
Exactly. Warehousing, distribution, sitting on a shop shelf. You buy a packet, maybe it has a pack for a date, but that tells you nothing about when the seed was actually harvested.
That totally changes how you look at a packet of seeds, doesn't it? You assume it's good to go.
It does. And the gardener in the note says they'd always obsessed about their own methods, thinking, what am I doing wrong? They were trying to fix a technique problem.
When the real issue might have been biological, the seed itself.
That's what they became largely convinced of. The age and quality of the seeds being sold was the likely culprit for all those failures.
So technique still matters, but maybe only really comes into play if the seed is already weak.
That's the nuance, yeah. They acknowledge better, more refined sowing techniques exist and help. But if a seed is old, barely viable, maybe only 10% energy left, you need perfect conditions to coax it to life.
Whereas a fresh seed,
A fresh seed, 100% charged. You could almost drop it on the pavement and it'll try its best to grow. Freshness provides a huge buffer against imperfect conditions.
this really shifts the focus from the big commercial sellers who need shelf-stable products towards maybe smaller local sources.
Potentially, yes. Large sellers often prioritize volume and logistics, which can mean older stock by the time it reaches you. Smaller, local growers, maybe selling heritage seeds, might inherently have fresher batches. It gives you, the buyer, a different factor to consider.
It's a huge mental shift for anyone who's labeled themselves a black thumb. Okay, let's make this more concrete. The notes mention a specific example, right? The peacock flower.
Yes, Caesalpinia pulcherrima. Beautiful plant, but notoriously a bit tricky to get started from seed. Often needs special treatment like nicking the seed coat, soaking.
So a good test case. What did the gardener do?
They took their own freshly harvested peacock flower seeds and just planted them, compared to their past attempts with commercial seeds of the same type.
And the results, with the commercial ones first.
Near total failure previously. 0% germination, basically. Even when they tried all the recommended tricks, the soaking, the careful planting, nothing.
Okay. And with their own fresh seeds.
They sowed about 10 seeds. And out of those 10, 2 sprouted.
2 out of 10, that's what, 20%?
Correct. Now, 20% might not sound amazing if you're new to gardening, but compared to 0% with the older seeds, even under better conditions, it's a massive difference.
It proves the point, doesn't it? Freshness trump technique, even for a difficult seed.
It really seems to be the key variable they unlocked. And the notes mention the timing, too. They sprouted in about 2 weeks.
Is that fast for peacock flower?
For a seed with a relatively tough coat, yeah, that's pretty good. It suggests the seeds were vigorous, ready to go, strong viability.
You can see why the gardener describes the whole process of saving and sowing your own seeds as, what was it? Fascinating and rewarding.
Absolutely. It changes the dynamic. You're not just a consumer buying a product you hope works. You're part of the entire cycle. There's a deeper satisfaction in that, a better understanding, like mixing your own paints versus buying a print.
So, wrapping this up for everyone listening, if you're heading out to buy seeds soon, what's the big takeaway here?
Stop blaming yourself first. Technique matters, yes, but if things aren't sprouting, the very first question you should ask is, how old is this seed likely to be?
Because that viability drops off fast, often after just 1 year.
That's the crucial point. We need to think differently as consumers. Maybe start asking about harvest dates, not just packed-for dates. Look for vendors who guarantee freshness, even if it costs a bit more. Avoid those dusty packets at the back of the shelf.
Right. It really leads to a final, pretty provocative thought, doesn't it?
It does. Given everything we've just discussed, that freshness seems to be the single biggest factor for success. How should you, as a knowledgeable gardener, change how you buy seeds?
Should freshness become the absolute top priority? More important than the specific variety, maybe even more important than the price.
It's something to think about. Are you buying a specific type of seed that might not grow? Or are you buying time, the freshness that practically guarantees potential?
Definitely some food for thought there as you plan your next planting season. Consider the age of your seeds. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, happy gardening, everyone. Go check those seed packets.
We'll catch you next time on the Deep Dive.